So we have the latest champion status from Samsung. This is the top of the food chain for their displays. It is the new QN900D, which is their latest 8K display. This is the top dog because it's the 85-inch version, and it now has built-in AI upscaling. They claim that now you're gonna take your 4K content or even lower resolution content, and you're gonna finally be able to benefit from having an 8K display to upscale that to look better than it's ever looked. I should also mention we have their sound bar, so we're gonna have the complete flagship setup. This one is called the Q990D, and the cool thing about these is you actually have a pretty decent integrated audio system inside the TV, and it's gonna sync up with the sound bar so you can actually utilize the entirety of the sound system, the speakers that are on the TV already, and the sound bar together to create a more immersive audio experience to go with the visual experience. With AI, apparently now we're gonna have a 4K image that actually looks like 8K, sort of, almost, maybe. Let's set it up and find out. Now, what Samsung does with their flagship models, they try to make them as slim as possible. So when you have these things mounted or even on their stand, they're not just slim in terms of the bezel, which is the smallest it's been on this model, but also the actual profile of the TV it's like a pencil. Now, one of the ways they do this is by creating a connection box that is separate from the actual TVs. And it actually makes things a little easier when you have the display mounted. It can be tough, depending on the type of mount you have, to get access to the back of a TV. So Samsung just says, okay, look, the TV is incredibly thin. You're going to have this connection box, which is separate, and you're gonna have better access to it, and you're gonna get a nicer design because of it. So we have a number of different components here. Now, the other thing to mention about the One Connect box is if you don't want to have it sit separately, that's fine too. You can actually mount it to the top portion of the existing stand, so it can kind of sit behind the TV. In that case, it would act like as if you had the ports directly on the TV, so it has flexibility from that standpoint. I think in most cases, and at least for me, I prefer to have it separate. Just makes accessing those ports a little bit easier, and then you have the singular cable going to this One Connect portion over here. And here is a very short One Connect cable that can go from here into the display if you do have the One Connect box mounted directly to the display. And then we have a slightly longer one here if you want to have it come down into a media console or just mounted somewhere else. It reminds me a little bit of a game console, just way thinner. And I should mention at this point, this display should be great for game consoles as well. It actually is capable of up to 240 hertz refresh, so that's pretty wild. All right, power cable on the side, which is recessed. 4 HDMI ports, including 1 eARC. You can see the little game controller there as well. 2 USB-A ports, another USB-A port here. We have an antenna connection point. Of course, there's also LAN for a wired internet connection. You have optical for audio, and then the One Connect port. So the stand has to be pretty robust, obviously, for an 85-inch TV. I should also mention that if you're looking at Samsung's flagship TVs, there are other sizes available. However, when it comes to 8K, you kind of want the biggest TV you can get, so you can take advantage of those extra pixels. If you're familiar with Samsung remotes, this will be a comfortable place for you. You have dedicated buttons for Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime Video, volume, channels, home button. Like, they've tried to make it, I guess, as simple as possible. But what I'm most excited by is not native 8K content, because as mentioned, there's almost none of it. I mean, you can go on YouTube. The stuff there is not even extremely high bit rate. Some of the 8K stuff looks awesome, but it's like demo videos and, like, I don't know, the odd nature video or something. It's cool, but the majority of the content you're gonna wanna watch is gonna need to be upscaled. And that's Samsung's entire pitch with this display. Let's get the TV set up and see what that looks like. All right, so everything is set up now, including the surround sound, which actually looks pretty good. I like this industrial look. This display is staggering. Like, it is large scale. Obviously, we're looking at an 85-inch display, and it almost seems like it shouldn't even stand up considering how slim it is. And it is slim all the way across. It's pretty wild. I mean, like a finger width? No, less than a finger width. It's like a pencil width. Insanely thin. And one of the ways they're able to achieve that is with the One Connect box. I see that you have it mounted here, Mo. So I'll just pop this piece off, which covers up some of your cabling. So this sort of showcases how you'll run your cables through. Lots of opportunity to connect your different devices, plenty of HDMI ports. So then you go ahead and just slap this piece on. and that just keeps everything looking clean from the rear. Let's go ahead and get our peel, which Mo has saved for me here. What a peel it is. I thought it might be a cool shot. It like landed in front of the lens. So our sound system starts with the sound bar in front, which is gonna cover your front and side channels. And then we've got those rears in the back, which are wireless. They're powered, but wireless communication from the audio system. Nice little indicator light in order to tell you that they're linked up since they are linked wirelessly. They do have some quarter threads if you do want to mount them on speaker stands rather than place them on industrial style cinder blocks, which is what we do. And then the subwoofer is back there as well. That's a pretty substantial subwoofer. The beauty with this Q Symphony setup is that all the audio becomes integrated. The TV and the upgraded audio system can work together, so there's no wasted audio equipment. Ooh. All right, so here we have some optimal 8K footage. Now, you won't be surprised to know that 8K looks incredible on an 8K TV. However, depending on your seating distance and your source material, this experience can vary. It is important with an 8K TV to scale up to the biggest size you can get and also to sit closer to it than you typically would on a 4K TV. But if you do those things, you end up with some pretty incredible imagery. Whoa. Whoa, detail, detail. Now the other thing worth talking about at this moment is the sound setup, because we're using Q Symphony. Here we have a surround sound system with our sound bar, our rear speakers, which are connected wirelessly. That's just power that you see going to them, and of course the subwoofer. What this does is make sure that you're not wasting the TV's built-in sound, but instead it's a contributing factor into the overall surround sound experience. And it's loud. Woo! I'm at like 40. Let's go to 100. I'm at like 40. It's wild. It's so easy to set up. You got like one cable going back and forth, that's it. Next thing you know, you have a surround sound experience, which enhances this image that you're paying so much for. So you probably should think about adding the audio equipment as well. Now I mentioned how thin this thing is, like thin profile, but the bezel, this screen, I mean, you can't even, outside of going like right to the edge, incredibly slim bezel. It really is as close as you're gonna get to edge. I mean, it looks fantastic. Obviously, we're talking about the top dog in Samsung's lineup. We're talking about 8K. We're talking about the best processor that they include in a television. We're talking about extremely slim bezels, so all you're looking at is your image. I'm looking at 8K footage in its optimal setting in order to sort of showcase what the TV is capable of at its extreme. And that's not even talking about the colors, the saturation, the ability to represent the dark right next to the light, where these TVs have made such an improvement through panel technology, but also through processing. And the processing is the next piece worth talking about. In fact, Samsung says that your 4K footage is going to look 90% as good as your native 8K footage using their new AI upscaling. 4K content, like you might be watching on YouTube, like you might be watching Unbox Therapy, you can see here we're in 2160p. However, we're getting the latest upscaling in order to enhance this footage so it doesn't look low resolution on this display. See, that can be a problem. Your display can get so good that you start to analyze your source material and say, whoa, I'm lacking detail, or this doesn't look as good as the 8K content. Well, obviously it doesn't. But in this case, with this new processor and this AI enhancement, Samsung is stating that you're going to get a lot closer to that 8K experience, even when you're starting with footage that's lower resolution. It's crazy we're calling 4K low res in 2024, but it kind of is when you expose everything through such a sophisticated and detailed display. Also, it exposes our color grading, because I'm red on one angle and white on the other. This is their tech demo to sort of explain what's going on inside. It's called the NQ8 AI Gen 3 processor. Of course, it's got AI in 2024, and AI obviously represents tremendous possibilities for upscaling images, making predictions. As we've seen on our computers when we're using certain software, autofill and things like this, AI is just outshining human capability in its ability to predict where pixels should be, where details should be, and in this case, how to upscale lower resolution images. It's kind of wild watching an ad for a TV on that TV that the ad is for, which I've just discovered is the optimal way to view that ad. That's the best way to watch that ad. You need to buy the TV first to appreciate what's so good about your TV. The caliber of visuals that they included as part of that tech demo and then the native file in 8K is very convincing. The big focus here for Samsung is obviously AI when it comes to upscaling, when it comes to motion enhancers. It's all this modern TV tech that you're paying for when you're looking at a flagship model. And this is the latest and greatest that's out there. This is the 85. You can scale it down a little bit. There are still a few options, even though we are talking about a premium display.